Hi, everyone. Welcome you all to the presentation. Today we are going to go through the journey to the mobility for Maximo with our client PNNL. With that note, I will straight away go to the introduction. Taylor, if you please.
Yeah, hi everybody. Apologies for my video. I'm having some challenges over here, but I'm excited to talk to you. My name is Tyler Troutman. I'm a solutions architect at the Pacific Northwest National Laboratory up in Washington State.
Hey, hi everyone. My name is Sivakumar. I'm a principal consultant with EAM360. Moving on, so today it is going to be the journey, like we mentioned in the topic. What was the need when the mobile for Maximo started, and how was the implementation journey with the EAM360 mobile app? Few things that we wanted to share to the community, and also the challenges we faced, and at the end, what was the benefit derived, followed by the Q&A. So we can address the questions maybe at the end. We'll go through the flow, but if there are any pressing questions during the conversation, please do stop us. I'm just in the presentation mode, so if there is anything, you can type, and we'll try to address it at the end of the presentation. Moving on, Tyler.
So the Pacific Northwest National Laboratory is up in Washington State. We're the Department of Energy's most diverse laboratory. There's a lot of great labs doing a lot of good things, right? And here you can see on screen, there's a few areas that we specialize in. There's many others. I've been at the lab maybe between 6 and 7 years, and what attracted me to working for a national lab is their ethos, and it says changing the world through courageous innovation, right? And that's inspiring then, and it's still inspiring me today. And so every solution that we bring to bear from a Maximo perspective, I try and weigh against that ethos, right? Is what I'm doing making something easier for our researchers to change the world? Is it making it easier for our support staff to support that? And so it's a really inspiring way to go about it, but that's what we try to bring to bear on every solution that we're bringing
through. Okay. Introduction about EAM360. We are incorporated in 2016. We have offices in USA, Canada, Australia, and the Development Center in India. We are IBM Gold Business partner. We do Maximo consulting and all the project work. The key focus for us is the EAM360, the native mobile app suite. So it's a role-based app. We have technician, storekeeper, and manager, helping the clients to achieve their mobility goals for Maximo. We are going to talk about the need for the Maximo mobile. So, Tyler, please.
Yeah, so within our Maximo process, virtually everything was electronic for the most part, with the exception of the execution. So somebody puts in a service request, right? I need something done to my lab, right? And that gets triaged by our facility staff. Hazards get applied. All sorts of things happen. It gets approved, goes to the supervisor, and then they print it out and they hand it to a crafter technician who then does the work. They bring it back. That stuff gets typed in and entered back into Maximo, and it gets electronically filed. So a pretty good electronic process end to end, with the exception of the most important part, which is the execution phase. We have 18,000 plus requests that go through Maximo every year for different types of work order needs, and that doesn't include the 300 plus PMs a month. That's a lot. It's a lot of paper. And those of you that work with Maximo daily and have tried to build reports or maybe other things, you know that you cannot cram enough information onto a report that'll allow them to be completely successful out in the field without having to make some phone calls. So you're talking 2 to 4 pages per report, right? So it's a lot of paper, and something needed to change. And that was going mobile, and that's the reason we started this mobile journey and why we're excited with with EAM360 and this partnership.
Awesome. Okay, I'm moving on to the next slide. So with the need, now we are going to talk about the implementation journey. We have divided this section into the following topics: user adoption, workflows, just basically to give an idea of what we went through. We are going to discuss each topic with the slides followed. User adoption.
So for those of you that have been through your mobile journey, or you're just starting it, or even if you're about to start it, this is the most important aspect that you will go through is user adoption. Everything can be lined up, but if they don't like it, it's not going to be successful, right? I've done a couple different implementations at previous places I've worked, and the ones that failed were predominantly because the people in the field that were going to be using the tool didn't like it. Right? Maybe it was something that IT handed down, or maybe it was something that the executives or leadership saying, hey, this is the thing for whatever reason. But when it gets to the field, if they weren't a part of the process, it's going to be a very hard sell to get them to use it outside of a thou shalt, right? So this is absolutely critical. And part of our journey was making sure that it wasn't just something that was handed to our crafts, our supervisors, and our technicians. They were the majority of the selection committee once the products got narrowed down. Worker experience matters, right? People are being hired all the time, being brought in and being tossed into situations after they get, critical training for their role to say, hey, go do some work, right? Go do this thing. And the last thing we want people to do is be messing around with a product that isn't intuitive and doesn't make sense. So what we ended up doing was we traveled to a bunch of different sites, looked at a bunch of different products, and we not only brought part IT with us and some leadership with us. Our core team was made up of supervisors, electricians, millwrights, pipe fitters. Right? We wanted to know, what do you like? And so our people in the field actually went and talked to the people using the product. Millwright to millwright. Do you like it? And some of the questions were fantastic. Would you rather have something else? What do you hate about what you're using right now? If you had it to do all over again, what would you have liked to have seen done differently? And the real users that we had talking to users of these products, and that allowed us to make a really informed decision and to get that critical user adoption, which is why it's successful in the field, is because they want to use us. They were asked, right? The last thing that I'll just kind of say about that is just to kind of bring it home is I don't know, throw in the chat or show of hands or just think to your head, but how many of y'all have an iPhone? I'm an iPhone guy. I'm not trying to alienate part of the group that's Android users, but I'm an iPhone guy. Lots of people have them, but I want you to consider how many of you guys actually read the manual when you got it, right? The answer is more than likely nobody, right? The product should be intuitive. An iPhone just works. I got it. I can use it. I can download apps, and it just works. It makes sense. And that's one of the reasons that EAM360 has been so successful for us, is because people pop open the app and it makes sense. The work log's where you would expect it to be. The coloring matters. It makes sense. And in your lists of work and all that, the workflows, the status changes, everything is where you would expect it to be in a work management thing. You don't need training. So that's absolutely huge.
Perfect. I'll move on to the next slide. So Taylor spoke about the user adoption. So in the coming slides, I would like to highlight few things which are adopted for PNNL by the users. Throughout the journey, we wanted to keep the design and the user experience as simple as possible, not clutter with multiple information, just the need to know information which are required to perform the work at the stage of the work order process they are in, right? So the presentation should be intuitive enough to get to the work and complete or add the details which are required. So the app should be just saying what the information they should fill in. So view your to-do list. So this is the simple login page where they get to know all the assignments they have it for the day. There are multiple roles using this app: business building engineer, supervisors, and also the crafts and technicians. Various roles will be using this app. So all the users will get the assignments, and the to-do list will be updated based on their assignments as per the current, work process they have. The next is talking about if you have multiple tabs, it provides you an easy option to navigate to the preferred tabs. This is one option. And the next is even configuring it as per your flow of work. So as a technician, I have the habit of just looking into the detail, putting in my charge code, reviewing any attachments, and then I get on to perform my work. This is a sequence I execute. So the technicians themselves can just go and rearrange the sequence and design the tabs in the, with the control they want to perform the work. Leveraging smartphone features. So this is like taking a picture, video, putting in an audio note. This gets directly added to the work order, and it gets recorded as a part of the work order completion against like the work they are performing. So marking progress, if you're into like a multi-asset work, the technicians are going to just update the progress with a single tab, so they can just check the work as and when they complete it on the field. Next is the work logs. This is pretty much used feature. Here we have got some enhancements up and running. So if you want, let's say a PM task to be revisited, we have to hear it from the technicians on the field if there is any change he observed, or if he want to change some sequence. So he can raise a specific log type, citing what is a problem, put an audio note, attach all the documents, which then when it gets to Maximo, it is converted into a service request so that the relevant PM owner can take a look and have a discussion and complete the updates if at all it is needed. Meter reading on a tab, all the associated meter reading can be updated, and reporting the labor time. So if they are performing the work, they can start the timer as soon as they start, and it also provides you to just go and add it manually in case if the timers are not used. So a couple of options for the technicians to use. Put what type of transaction they are adding. Is it a regular pay code or is it overtime? So all the information are available for them to enter with the app. Now we are going to talk about a Maximo workflows. Tyler, over to you.
So one of the critical features that the mobile product absolutely had to have, in addition to an intuitive user experience, was it had to be able to support workflow. We are a workflow shop here at the lab. We have 6,000 people that use Maximo daily, whether they know it or not. Some people interact with it through web pages that we have APIs that drive it. Some people interact with it through filling out service requests, or maybe they use Maximo daily as an asset manager or what have you, or a craft or supervisor, but everybody uses Maximo. So from a work management perspective, we have one active process that handles all of that, and there's 28 different sub processes, right? So those of you that have dabbled in workflow or worked with it extensively, that's a lot. The nice thing about our workflow is it's adaptive to our hiring processes. As people swap roles, we don't have to do any revisions. We have very little revisions for something that's built 5-6 years ago. It works and it adapts as the lab grows and as work management changes. So it was absolutely critical that the mobile product we selected work with workflow. One of the things that we learned, and Siva will give you some more details here in a minute, is we had to adapt our workflow to be mobile, right? I mean, our workflow was designed for people sitting around on PCs, typing things in and working that way, but it's a totally different game when you're handing somebody a tablet and all their work assignments are being synced automatically to it, and they need to be able to interact with it as well, and not have to go back to a PC to fill stuff out, or we want to make sure that it actually works for them. So if in the past it was a click button that they would do to send work forward in workflow, maybe we need to do something a little bit different too, because the scenario out in the field is very different than the scenario on the PC. So EAM360 worked with workflow out of the box, but not only that, it worked when it was offline. So that was absolutely huge for our work process.
Awesome. So a couple of technical issues we had to go through. So if you have a workflow option which is conditional, which has a condition on it, The Maximo's OSLC APIs were not supporting, like it was not validating the like the conditions. So we had to do fix these restrictions and come up with options. Similar to that is an input node followed by an input node, which is not supported by OSLC. So we had to make some adjustments to accommodate these like restrictions that we had. Another important point to note is on the single mobile app, like I mentioned, the supervisors, the building engineers and team leads are workflow enabled, but the craft, they are not in the part of workflow, meaning they will just complete the work, say whether it is complete or not. They are just in the process of status change. So this entire process of, and then after the crafts complete, then it again goes to workflow. Everything is like done in the single interface, so the technicians and supervisors, they don't feel any different, and the UI elements will render the actions based on the role as well as the current assignment and options they have at that point in time. So this kind of like, we consolidated everything, as I mentioned, to keep it simple to the users.
So go ahead.
Sorry, Taylor, please go ahead.
Oh, so I was just going to say, as I mentioned, we have a fairly complex workflow. There's a lot of opportunities to utilize mobile in the request phase, as well as asset management and what have you. But what we did as a lab initially was we focused on the execution portion, right? And this, what you see here is kind of a smaller version of the execution piece. And so work will get into the supervisor or the team lead in a status of ready to work. Excuse me. Then the supervisor can scroll through the to-do list, make the assignment, say, oh, this looks like it might be something for an electrician, or it might be something for this crew, right? They can take a look at a work by work. They can see how overloaded or underloaded somebody is or their crew. They can select that group right from the app, and then they can just immediately send it off to the craft or technician in the field. And that ends up on the tablet of the person that's working it, that got the assignment, in a status of release. But that's kind of our cutover between supervisor and craft. So at that point, our mobile workflow takes over, and then it's all based on the actions that the craft or technician are taking, and based on how they close things out, how they fill out information. The mobile workflow portion of this is adaptive enough to know where it's supposed to go next. But what's cool about this is it's not just about our technicians working electronically. Our supervisors needed to too, and just like yours do. When you hire a work team leader, a supervisor, whatever the term is that you guys have, but when we hire somebody, we hired them because they have a specific expertise in running a crew, making sure work is done safely, and those kinds of things, right? And so the more PC Maximo work they're doing, and by PC I mean computer, Windows computer work that they're doing, the less in the field that they are. But by now being able to see all the work that's coming into them that they need to get ready to release, they're able to do that from a plan of the day meeting. Maybe they're being driven by somebody on site, and they're doing it there. They're releasing work while they're in meetings. They don't have to walk back to the computer. It's now just part of everyday life, as opposed to it being a separate act.
Perfect. These are some screenshots, to relating to what Taylor spoke just now. So in the single app, when they get to the work order, the workflow options are available here. If I'm a building engineer, I'm just going to see what are the options that I have, wherein if I am a craft and I am not a part of workflow, I just have to say whether I completed my work or I suspended it, or I'm just waiting for my material to come in. So the dynamic fab button, floating auction button, just displays the right information. Again, keeping it simple, necessary information to the users. All they have to do is just press the action button, whatever the relevant action as per their role, and the part of the work order process will automatically come up here. And as you can see, once the assignments are completed, the users are given updates saying, hey, you have completed all your active assignments. You do not have anything further to work on it unless there is a new assignment. So it kind of keeps the users informed about what is happening based on the action that he or she performed. Again, tomorrow we will have a complete demo on it, like with all the features. Right now, the time is limited. That's why I'm showing shots, but there is a demo tomorrow where you can see this in live, all the options that we are showing here. The security checklist.
So this is the part that I'm most excited about. As I mentioned earlier, the user experience of the workers is absolutely critical to user adoption and success, and security goes hand in hand with that. There's no reason to sacrifice user experience for security. I mean, we need to make sure everything is secure, but we need to make sure we do it in a way that the product and the users are still the scenario works for them, right? So think about this: you're out in the field, you authenticate in your device. Now you got to sign into the app. So you got to pull off your glove. Maybe you're taking off your PPE. You're signing into the app. You put it back on. You do your work, and then the screen locks because it sat there for more than a minute or two. Now you got to do it all over again. And this day and age with two-factor authentication is critical to security, right? Two-factor authentication is based on something I have and something I know. And so what I have is maybe an RSA token or a badge or something. And what I know is my PIN. So what we wanted to do is bring that experience to the mobile app. And so one of the things that we did with Seton that they built for us was now when I sign into my tablet, I have a PNNL puts a digital certificate in there, so that's part of our two-factor authentication. Once I authenticate biometrically or with my PIN into my tablet, from our security standards, that's considered a two-factor auth, and we're in. But the last thing we want our users to do is type in that password again. So by working with Seton, now our users, once they biometrically log into their device, they're two-factored in, or maybe they typed a PIN or whatever their preference is. But now when they click sign in to the mobile app, it just launches and it's up and it's working. There's no complicated password to type in. There's nothing that they have to remember. And if the screen locks, it doesn't matter because they just sign back into their tablet again and the app will launch again. So it's from a usability perspective and a user adoption, having that seamless security was absolutely huge. It was important because they're not going to use it otherwise. If they have to type in a complicated password every couple of minutes when the screen locks, our users aren't going to use it and yours won't either. And so this was a total game changer for us, for our user adoption.
Wonderful. Moving on, some additional challenges. I'm just going to go through that. So there is a requirement. We spoke about technician, supervisor, like two different options. One has workflow and another one has like status change options. So there was a requirement to switch the roles like immediately between technician to supervisor, just in case if I'm performing like both the roles today. So which means that you're just going to bring a new set of rules, new set of data, everything back, but still we were able to accommodate this, switching for the users, again, going back to the initial funda, like keeping the user experience as important. So we just managed to do a quick switch and provide the relevant work order to-do list for the role they have selected. We had challenges in performance, so like slow API performance, because as you know, even though your product is built on a certain performance expectation, it is also dependent on the performance of the APIs. So when we observed the slowness, we were happy to work with our client PNNL, and they were very cooperative, and together we did fixing the issues in the Maximo database level, simple changes, which made us to get to the point of our benchmarking API performances, thereby getting the experience of the user to the fullest.
Yeah, absolutely. Things that were taking 30 seconds, we got down to maybe a half second for in some cases. So that performance tweaking was huge. And again, it was an issue on our end, our Maximo environment. It wasn't the product, but yeah, that was an awesome benefit as well.
Of course. And finally, the benefits.
So I know that we only got just a couple minutes left, and so I'm just going to jump to one of these so we can take some questions. But I really wanted to mention the modernizing that work execution for the incoming workforce. I can remember with stark clarity when I got my first email address, when I got my first smartphone, but my kids don't know a world without that, right? The phone is an extension of them. It's a way to game, to stay connected, and it happens to make a phone call as well. New workers coming in, that's them as well, right? The mobile device is an aspect of their lives, and it's kind of cultural whiplash to say, okay, the way that you live your life, we don't want you working that way. Here's some paper, right? And so in order to stay competitive, not just attracting new talent, but also to make sure that we're being agile to the changes that are in the world and the changes in our environment, we had to modernize. Mobile shouldn't be something that you aspire to. Mobile should be table stakes, like security and unit testing. It should just be a standard requirement. So we were really excited when we got here. This is one of the key reasons. I'm going to encourage you guys, as you're looking at your mobile programs, or you're looking to go mobile, to treat it like a requirement, like it's table stakes. It's base functionality that we should have nowadays because of the incoming workforce is used to it.
Awesome. I think we are ready to take questions and answers. So let me. Okay. I'm just trying to bring up any questions.
Yeah, if anyone has any questions, just throw them in chat. I think we can answer them that way.
I am not able to see. Taylor, by any chance, can you
Oh,
see
yep.
some?
I'm not seeing any questions in the chat, so I think we're good.
Okay.
There are a couple questions that came in. Sorry about that.
Oh.
First one being whether the workflow option is available on both online and offline modes.
Yes. Yep. It's available both on and offline.
Perfect. And then are technicians able to create work orders or follow up work orders?
That's a setting, right? So for us, we kept it simple during the initial launch, and we just had work kicked off by the requests or by the supervisors or by, say, a condition monitoring point that they filled out that failed. But yes, product allows for that.
Yeah, they can also create service request if that's part of your process. You can create like a service request or work order from a service request. It really depends on the business process that you want to handle.
Perfect. And a couple more. Is this solution, does it support Arabic language?
We have support for multiple language, but we do not have any references in Arabic language, but the product can be configured to support Arabic language.
And the last question here, did you have security roles flow from Maximo, or did those need to be set up in the app configuration?
It is a part of Maximo security. So the security group will determine whether you are a technician or the supervisor.
But the product works with your existing Maximo security. We only had to add 2 security groups, and it was essentially, are they a supervisor or are they a technician? That's really a true false flag, right? Everything else was just based on the security I had already set up at the lab. Didn't have to do anything extra.
Perfect. All right, and any other questions that did roll in? Looks like we are out of time. We'll be sure to follow up those individually. We appreciate your time, and if there's anything else you two'd like to add.
No, I'm good.
That's great. Thanks for your time.
Thanks everyone for their time.
Thanks everybody. Take care.
Thank you.